How does the hair look over here? Is it okay?
Somehow gayer than before.
Bitch, fuck you. Okay. Welcome to the Lesser Known People podcast. I am Big Cat. I will be presenting this evening. Hashtag release the Big Cat edits. Hashtag Kyle is a fucking monster. I am joined this evening by our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man, Sean. I'm not going to say his elongated name here. He's just a beautiful man.
I am elongated.
Beautiful beard, beautiful hair. Today he is corralled by two other Seans on his pantheon of, I don't know what you would call this. He's out in space, and that's suiting for our story tonight. I'm also joined by J Master, J Man, J Money, Justin, who's looking sharp as well. He's a devilishly handsome man. And KY Jelly, he's a cool guy. He's all right too.
Whatever. You know, if you want straight, I could just go fuck myself right away. If that's
the thing is, I thought you were just now. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does the hair look? One more time. Do you want to tell me?
You know what? Great, fantastic.
Yes,
so kind. You're so kind, guys. KY Jelly, he's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful, handsome guy. Totally an incredible human being. But we are here for a night of intrigue, of mystery, of conspiracy. And help me out with this word. Is it internet? Is it called the internet?
I know a guy who is super good at the internet. He is like basically the master of the internet. It's my buddy Ryan, knows a ton about the internet.
Yeah. He's cool. He's great. He's also handsome and he's got good hair. Yeah,
he's okay. He does okay. Yeah.
He does better than okay. You should probably say he does better than okay. You will notice that someone very important is absent tonight, and that is our dear friend, the con man Connor. He is seeing some family right now. He's saving some refugees right now. There's a lot he's doing, and it's all pro bono work. Wonderful guy.
Oh yeah.
Pro bono. It would be very beneficial to have him here, as there is some tech talk, and as I have alluded to, I know fucking nothing about technology. I know fucking nothing about it. Just to keep everyone at home updated who is listening, last time we spoke about Connor, beautiful wild hair. He has now shaved it. It's a shaved head. It's still beautiful. Hard to send to pull off. Those are polarizing looks, but he has them. He absolutely has them.
Yeah, he can do it. He's got range. He's got a spectrum of handsome that he just operates on effortlessly. It's incredibly frustrating as an ugly person. So
right. Yeah. When we went to the bar the other day, Conman was outshining Big Cat and I by far.
100%. Yeah.
And that's not even a shot at you guys. You're two little dwarf stars next to a red giant. You know what I mean? You just can't be.
I don't know if anyone noticed, but KY adds nothing to this podcast.
It's because I used the word dwarf and I meant it.
I was going to say
celestial body sense.
In a celestial body sense. Yeah, absolutely. Hashtag KY is a fucking monster.
I know a lot about space. Okay.
You make fun of our shortness an awful lot, KY.
Wow. He'll be able to help out with this story maybe, but he's pretty useless, so we'll see. Hashtag release the Big Cat tapes.
That's right. Yep.
Release those edits.
In the vault. Never to be.
Everyone is joining me from last week where I gave my own 5.5-hour presentation.
Of all of our episodes condensed into you shut up. No, you shut up.
It was just me
and it was
performing. We'll see. I don't know if you noticed, KY is a fucking nightmare to work with. Therefore, I don't think any of these things are going to be released. I don't think any of these things are going to be released. So we got to fight for him, guys. We got to fight for him, okay? Keep fighting the good fight. Send money. If you're listening, send money to the podcast.
Yeah, if anyone's been paying attention, Ryan and I are short. Everyone else in our group is tall, and Kyle's the fucking worst.
You don't need to say it. You don't need to say it. But yes, what Jay Money just said is true.
He commonly tells me and Connor that he can't hear what you guys say because it's so far away.
Wait, did you just insult them for me?
Yes. Yeah, he did, and we're offended about you through him. Just so we're clear.
Sean stays beautiful and innocent.
You know what? Before we started, I was actually going to, when it was just you and I talking here, and we locked eyes. I felt a little pregnant after we locked eyes, but that's a separate story.
I'm very potent.
Very potent. It's all about the eyes. I was about to apologize. I was about to be like, I'm just kidding with you. I love you so much. But now you'll never get that. You'll never get that.
Okay, Ryan, what are we talking about today?
We have an excellent story. Absolutely sincere, amazing story. We're going to start out in the year 1998.
I love that year.
It was a good year. It was a good year for a lot of us. 1998, there is a very popular kind of sci-fi oriented radio show called the Art Bell Coast to Coast AM radio show.
Oh my God, I love Coast to Coast.
Coast to Coast.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. So
Yes.
I don't.
J Money's in the know. I guess KY is too. I don't know. He's a fucking idiot. But I guess John, I'm sure you've heard of it as well.
I have no idea what this show is.
Okay,
Perfect. Yeah.
This
So
is a
Sean,
show,
out there in LA, Sean, 10 o'clock at night, turn your radio on to 600 AM and you will hear Coast to Coast.
Yes, because I have a radio.
I'm sorry.
Is this some device Sean is too rich to understand what it is? I don't understand. I don't know.
Is it an app that I can put on my TV or something?
Dude, you've got like a medium fade and a beard. You're just hipster enough to have a CV radio laying around somewhere.
A CV? Wow. Well,
Yeah.
if you have a CB, you are very hipster and it's very cool.
I'm not there yet, but now I think you guys are talking me into it.
Get the CB. Anyways, 1998, people still listen to this item called radio. Radio, I believe is what it's called. Art Bell has a very popular show. It kind of amassed kind of a weird cult following. It was kind of a lot of fringe individuals. They listen to this. Please, if you're listening to this and you're a fan of the show, don't write me hate mail. I have seen some of the things you people post. I will take full responsibility, but hey, it's all in love. I love you guys.
That's right.
The
I know
last
you-
people that you want to piss off are the Coast to Coast followers, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to a Coast to Coast episode. They're batshit crazy.
We're about to jump on one of their essential saints they've had on the show. And this was a huge prominence with Coast to Coast. 1998, the late great Art Bell was running a segment, which was called Time Travelers. On this program, people of all paths in life could call in and state if they were a time traveler or had known a time traveler. And so obviously, because it was on AM radio, it was fact.
Yep. Facts. 100% facts.
Art Bell receives a fax. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever used a fax. It's primarily used by attorneys and your grandfather. Those are the only people who still use a fax machine.
I think
He
all
receives
of
a
my
fax.
debt collectors keep giving me a fax number 2.
Yeah. Forget that. You don't need it. Fax is completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Email. This is what email killed, by the way. It was a fax machine.
Yeah. And email is with help me out, man. Internet, right?
That's the World Wide Web. Yeah. Yep.
World. And it's so funny you bring that up because we're actually going to get to a weird conversation about World Wide Web. This encompasses a lot of different things. So he receives a fax. I am going to read the fax in its entirety. If you need to go to the bathroom, audience, please feel free to do so now. This would
Don't do so now.
Never.
The fax is as stated. I didn't want to give you the condensed version because that fucking sucks. So he gets a fax from a time traveler. This is the year 1998. Dear Art, I had to fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time past the year 2500 AD. Please let me explain. Time travel was invented in 2034. Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN. CERN is, let me explain, that is the European Nuclear Research Institute. It is in Geneva, Switzerland, to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. We'll get to that in a second. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. You guys following?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Every bit of that makes sense to me. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is fifth grade physics, fifth grade science.
Absolutely. Next to the guy who's doing the the baking soda volcano, always a singularity reactor. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on the original timeline. When you turn your singularity engine off, a new timeline is created. And I will explain this in a minute. Due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there, in other words, a new universe is created. To back to your original line, you must travel a split second farther back and immediately throw the engine into forward without turning it off. This sounds complicated. Again, I will explain in a second because I've time traveled myself, so I know all about this.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. You guys know. Yeah. Fuck you guys. You know. Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys. Some interesting outcomes of this are: 1, you meet yourself. I have done it before. I have done it often. Excuse me. Even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to a new timeline and going back to mine. 2, you can alter history in the new universe that you have just created. Most of the time, the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist or books that come out late. The oldest one, and please keep this in mind when I say this, guys, the oldest one was a skyscraper that wasn't built in a near favorite store of mine in New York. 1998, that's the timeline. Interestingly, when you travel in time, you must compensate for the orbit of the Earth. Since the time machine doesn't move, you have to adjust the engines so you remain on the planet when you turn it off. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564, referencing the beginning where you can't pass 2500. Everyone who has ever been there has reported that nothing exists. When the machine is turned off, you find yourself surrounded by blackness and silence, which is me when I have sex. So I've been in the future. When you have sex, you go in the future. That's
you go to the future. You're time traveling.
Mm-hmm. Now, most time travelers are trying to find out where the line went bad by going into the past, creating a new universe, and proceeding forward to see it. The same thing results in 2564. It appears the line went bad around the year 2000. I'm here now in this time to test a few theories of mine before going forward. Now, the future you might want to know about, okay? Keep in mind, please, everyone who's listening to this still, this is all a fucking fax that was sent to the Art Bell Coast to Coast radio show.
My God.
1, Y2K is a disaster. You guys remember that term, Y2K?
Yeah.
All my 90s kids, all my 90s beauties out here. Many people die on the highways when they freeze to death trying to get to warmer weather. 2, the government tries to keep power by instituting martial law, but all of it collapses when their efforts to bring the power back up to fail. 3, a power facility in Denver is able to restart itself, but it's mobbed by hundreds of thousands of people and destroyed. This convinces most that maybe we shouldn't bring the old system back up. 4, a few years later, communal government system is developed after the Constitution takes a few twists. China retakes Taiwan, Israel wins the largest battle for their life, and Russia is covered in nuclear snow from their collapsed reactors. Art, the reason I'm here now is because I believe a nuclear weapon set off by Iraq in the Middle East war with Israel might have something to do with the damaged timeline. I will test that theory and get back to you. Please pray that we discover the reason why there is no apparent future after 2564. That was sent in 1998.
Who was the sender?
We are not certain who the sender is for a few years after. So he sends this particular text, or this particular text. Who am I? A millennial?
Now, here's a question. If you met your past self, would you kiss?
Yes.
You got to. And I don't think it's a gay way. You just want to see if you're good at it or not. It's a litmus test.
And it's honestly, it's like assurance for them. It's like, hey, you're all right. Honestly, I've been to the future. I've seen like people with fucking tentacles. So you're all right.
You're doing okay. Good, decent kisser. Nice beard. Although past me will be like, oh, my hairline. Oh no.
You would also. Well, let's be fair. And KY is saying that, and KY, I'm going to say this right now. You're welcome. KY does have a beautiful hairline right now. He looks very good.
Thank you. So kind.
So kind. Yeah, so kind. You should learn something from that.
It's good with the bad. It's good with the bad. You got to take them and just move past it.
Shuck and jive.
A lot of underhanded stuff here. You would absolutely show your penis to the other person. There's no question.
Well, like
yeah,
penis.
You would want to compare. And quite frankly, if they were already an adult, they would know. They would know what they're dealing with. This is what you got. It's good.
But why would I show my cock to adult me who like 5 years ago and be like, hey man, show me your cock? It's the same.
Oh my God. I met myself
them.
in the future and he showed me my cock.
Wow,
yeah,
guys.
And it was smaller than it looked on me.
I'm so glad all of you. You know what? Think about this more than just the 5 seconds that I read you a fucking fax. Okay?
I'm trying.
Look, you remember last episode when we talked about Goshen and
Yeah.
KY tried really hard to steer away from like potty humor? And
Yeah.
the first thing that we come up with is how big's the dude's dick. Exactly what happened here. Okay.
That's exactly what happened here.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sure at some point when he had met himself, they did make out. He would be making out with the child. So, whatever, that's weird.
It's not the child. I didn't say child. It's just when you see your past self. Like if you're 50 and you see 25-year-old you, it's like
when you see your past self and you're just like, oh my god, right?
Hey, you know what?
John, you just got to take it.
You got to start with the man in the mirror, and in that case, it's a younger version of you, and it's like,
I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm wondering if he can change his ways.
You think you know how to beat off? You think you're 25 years old? You think you know how to beat off? Let me show you something.
That would be Sean. Sean would be like, listen, let me give you some tips on jacking off better. You would turn into Coach Sean for younger Sean and shame him on how poorly he masturbates.
I feel like if I went back in time to 1998 when I was 11 years old, my 11-year-old me would see adult me and go, oh man, fuck.
Yeah,
I must have really
guys. Your younger self would definitely look at, wow, this guy's a fucking hero. They would know that, okay? And our protagonist in this episode is the same way. So there is numerous conversations. It goes back and forth. He does fax a few more times, most of which is about fans essentially corresponding. So he does talk to Art Bell a couple different times and then goes silent. He does not return until 2000 on sorry.
But didn't he say 2000 was going to be fucking people in the streets, lights didn't work?
Well, yeah,
Denver's in the
I
ground.
need you to pay attention to the story, Kyle. I'm not done. God.
Well, I mean,
okay, I just want everyone to know right now, KY is fucking terrible to tell a story to.
The worst. Too many questions.
Well, I mean, so the guy, he did build in his own like back door for this, right? I need to go find a way to save the world because I'm a time traveler that made up my own story.
Yes.
Don't ruin it, Justin. Come on, dude.
Yes.
Don't.
And we'll get there. We'll get there in just a second. Or 3.5 hours from now.
Let it flow.
Okay, so he shows back up in 2000 on a forum on the internet. You're right, the internet.
Wild Wild West.
Titled the Time Traveler Institute. It is a forum where people get together and talk about time travel. So he has now progressed from the Coast to Coast radio show with Art Bell to Time Traveler Institute. He does still correspond with Bell. Bell does a few more actual interviews with people who are sincere believers in this individual. But we'll get to that in a little bit. In 2000, he shows back up on the website, or on this particular website. And in the post, he's stating, he says, that was me in the actual posts. No one else here knows about actual time travel. I have come back. I am actually on a mission. In this mission, he describes what his actual journey is supposed to be about. That is, he is a military soldier. He's been in the Army. He was part of a program that was designed to go back in time for particular missions.
He's a human Terminator.
Yeah, he's a human Terminator. He would be the actual human in the first Terminator. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Kyle Reese. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Reese. Yeah, looking sexy. Probably the same mullet, I would assume.
Similar.
Very similar coif mullet. Because when you go back in time, you actually just get a mullet.
Yeah, because the back of your hair always grows faster, and so when you time
Travel,
travel, it just grows
because you're going so fast.
Yeah, you go so fast. And then there's all that party back there all of a sudden, and you got to do something with it.
What they were doing in the 80s.
All that party. So this individual states he is on a mission. He had stopped in 2000, but he is currently on his way. He confirms that he is the same individual from the 1998 fax that was sent to Bell on the Coast to Coast radio show. He also confirms that he's going back to the year 1975 to get an IBM computer, a personal PC, which is I'm just going to help you guys out, stands for personal computer.
Personal computer.
Oh, that's what that is.
Just for our listeners here, I do so much of the learning on this show. So
lion's share.
Yeah. So it goes back to 1975 to get what is the IBM 5100.
That must be really
familiar. It's super fast. It's super awesome. You can play so much Fortnite, and it's just a beat-off battle station. It's beautiful. So he states he goes back. I need to get the 5100 for a particular reason. There is a technology specific to this that is not yet known to society. It's hidden by the designers. He goes on to make several predictions in these same slew of posts that he's talking about, because obviously on the Time Traveler Institute, people are gouging this man with different items. The first and foremost being, we have a civil war in the year of 2005. That civil war turns into a World War III in the year of 2015. And then after that, the civilization is just kind of scavenging. And so he needs this particular device for the hidden items that are there to help out in 2036, the year he is from. I'm going to pause there in case we have any comments right now. Immediate comments?
Wow. I don't remember the Civil War in 2005, but
you don't remember that?
Were they talking about Avengers Civil War? Is that what it was? Captain America Civil War? Is that part of the Marvel universe? Is that what?
The secret Civil War.
Yeah.
The thing is, there was a secret Civil War, and
was I not cool enough to be invited?
Yeah, you weren't cool enough to be invited because it was 2005, and you were being a fucking dick. So
dicks were too small, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
he makes a slew of other items. So besides the wars that never fucking happened,
ever
happened.
I gotta say, I was in the military in 2005, and I didn't fight no war. Well, Civil War.
J Money, I want you to
there were other things I did.
I want you to think hard. Was there no Civil War?
I'm really racking my brain on this one. I went to Iraq, and that was fucking it.
Okay. Would you say they were having a civil war
in Iraq
or any of those countries at that time?
No, we just invaded them, mostly for no reason.
Do you remember Tony Stark? You know, some sort of robot person.
All of that is in here.
I do remember Tony Stark showing up with his robot suit.
Yeah. 2005. Crazy year. Wild year.
He was so hot. I would have sucked that metal dick.
Wow, man. Do you think he built a metal dick?
He built a metal dick. Why would you build a suit and not a metal dick?
That's true.
Kyle, you're a fucking idiot. Anyways, he makes these predictions. People are obviously trying to pick apart his story. They ask him what his actual vessel is like. They ask him, what other predictions do you have? Why do you need this particular device? Why do you need this 5100? He said he is stopping in the year 2000 for personal reasons. He is visiting family. He said he's going to 1975 because it is his grandfather who was one of the creators of that particular computer, the 5100.
Wow, nice brag. I mean,
nice, totally. Yeah, he's honestly, this guy's kind of a cock. He does release his actual name. He says, "I am John Titor." That's his name. and he has been tasked with going back in time to set up these items where we were essentially throwing him away with these predictions. He specifically alludes to an item known as the Everett-Wheeler theory. Okay. So in quantum physics, Everett-Wheeler theory is basically the idea that there are various world lines. He states that when you time travel, it is essentially a web of different paths that you go on. So even small adjustments that are made change dramatically what world you're on. So every single choice by a Centurion being, you are forever changing. So whatever you do as a being that can make a choice, essentially on this theory, there are thousands, if not infinite, different timelines that have been created of that based off of that choice. Okay. So
this is like some like Rick and Morty shit. That's like hurt.
It really is.
This is very Rick and Morty. This is
actually started. Bill and Ted was one of the originals.
You're
the
exactly
idea
right.
that like every single decision you make splits off a different road. It's like the forking or the tree branching. There's a whole bunch.
That's exactly. Yeah. And that was actually built on Everett-Wheeler theory. A lot of people didn't understand that at the time because they just thought it was a comedy. But Everett-Wheeler basis is there are thousands of timelines that we evolve on. So when certain predictions did not come true, it's essentially false proof because he has already built in this idea I was on a separate timeline, so I didn't necessarily see it then, or it hasn't already happened to you.
Okay. I think
So he can talk himself out of any of the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. Either I made a prediction and prevented it from happening, or it didn't happen because something else happened and somebody made another choice. But it was going to happen. That's
exactly right. So Everett-Wheeler theory, essentially, if you look into this theory, it's been used for just a slew of different ideas. It can even go back and people say, okay, there are timelines that, if you are Christian, there are timelines that even Jesus did not necessarily exist in, and you had a different savior. So there's a lot of different routes that particular item comes from, but he specifically references this on 2 different occasions where he is trying to explain, I come from these particular, when you go time travel, you will never return to the exact time, the world line, as he states it, that you were from. World line meaning the particular environment and world that you're in right now. Meaning if we went and time traveled right now, we went back and we came back, it would not be the same world line that we are on currently over this podcast.
Right. So that means because you left, like the actual act and choice of leaving, not based on necessarily where you go or what you do, but the fact that you leave it and come back is enough to change it forever. So that
you would never, okay. So you do leave, you can specifically get back if you want, but you have to follow that pattern of the singularity reactor where you would reemerge with your timeline. And that takes that's the essentially that would be like something comparable to you're driving and while you're going, you pull the emergency brake, spin, and then, pump the actual brake. So it's that split-second decision. Everything that revolves around this is based on split-second movements, is what he's stating. So to get back, he would have to do that. He is stating in 2000 that he will never be able to return to his approximate timeline. When he took this mission, he knew he would never be able to do so.
That's almost extremely convenient for his initial predictions.
That's
almost as if it's made up.
The idea is, and here's the thing, Kyle, I just want you to quit being such an asshole.
Let him gape. Let him scope.
I gotta scope it, man. I gotta gape the scope.
Can you believe?
A little bit.
Can you believe?
I will try to believe.
What did Mulder used to say on the X-Files?
I want to believe.
I want to believe. Yeah. This is very Mulder. So he is questioned on a pantheon of items. He is actually pantheoned on his actual time travel device. He shows an actual diagram. He shows this specific diagram, how it sets up, what it looks like. He says it is a solitary state item, and I go back in time. It heats up too quickly. And then, so here is where I want to venture into the items that he as his true followers believe were true. Okay. So obviously you guys heard me reference the skyscraper, the New York item.
Right.
Okay. So that's far-fetched, but that is, a lot of people will say, is that reference to 9/11. Okay.
Right.
The second item, he says, my particular time traveling item heats up very quickly. Do you have any way of cooling down a device like this as you have a crash in the near future with your space vehicle? Okay. Columbia crashes in 2003. After that, the item of the language being specific, where I had to go get back and get the 5100. Okay. In 2004, IBM discloses that, yeah, we had a hidden code in there that revolved around I believe it's called BASIC as a program, and LPA are the two programs. And then there's some other type of code language that can interpret various types of code. So it was not known to public that was actually placed into the IBM 5100. And it was largely believed in IBM that maybe 20 people probably knew about that.
And so that wasn't known until after he had sent...
2004
Okay.
that came out.
Okay.
He also made a statement. So he disappears for a little bit. He comes back. He starts corresponding with a gal by the name of Pamela Moore over this particular institute forum. And she asks him a host of questions. In that, he discloses how his time traveling device is working. Obviously, that's what we just talked about. It heats up very quickly. It is a solitary device. The idea that it uses black holes. He discloses that he does say that Stephen Hawking, his theory on black holes, will be revised before he dies. So be eating his words.
That's true. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Stephen Hawking said some weird shit and then changed his mind about it.
In relatively succession after this. So he basically said in 2001, when he reemerged, February 2001, he basically stated that, Stephen Hawking's going to eat his words on this. Stephen Hawking's theory was basically black holes, once it's sucked in, and obviously I don't have a true understanding of it, once it's sucked into the black hole, it just disappears. He revised that and said, no, once it sucks in, it is going to a separate universe. Any of you who are fans of Faster Than Light Theory, the FTL, like I was growing up, obviously I had a huge ton of fans. I was a super jock growing up.
Really popular kid. Really popular.
FTL, part of FTL is essentially you are going at such a speed that you would be able to drop into black holes. And that kind of follows that same theory. You drop into these black holes and that is effectively how you're able to, except with this one, the idea is there's two black holes generated, one that goes forward, one that goes backward. He does also say that CERN, in his timeline, releases the idea that they've had time travel theory since the year 2001. And a lot of people are like, well, that's a crack of shit. In 2004, they do disclose that they are, in fact, doing research with a lot of the same science that John Titor, our protagonist in this experience, is alluding to.
Yeah, so that's true. So CERN actually have theorized that they've actually been sending particles. So CERN is a 27-mile loop.
Yeah, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. It's different sites out in Europe.
So one of the things CERN has is a particle accelerator. And here's my fucking nerdisms, by the way. They theorize that what they've been doing is shooting these particles through this 27-mile loop that they have out there and colliding them into each other. So it's a giant particle accelerator. And they've been theorizing that when some of these things collide, like different particles collide, some of them are actually traveling backwards in time.
Yeah. So they've been working on this theory for a while. So in the timeline for John Titor, he essentially says they've had this technology since 1988, and it didn't become public knowledge until about 20 years later. So we have CERN essentially admits in 2004 that they've had it, and then potentially 20 years from now. So this idea that we are on an expanding web of different timelines, we might never converge, obviously, but we might come to the same different realities. One of the items he spoke about was in 2564, when the world ends, he's trying to solve if everything ends at that immediate period or if certain timelines expand past that, in which case that would also allude to the idea that we are on different timelines, but also we could be on similar timelines as other people. Where essentially we emerge on the same events, just at different time periods. So there would be, it could potentially be an item of 20 years of discourse where you are traveling in these particular pantheons.
Sorry, I'm not adding anything. I have a question. Just so what you're giving right now is kind of some examples of some of the theories and predictions that have come true. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So these are why people believe John Titor right now, and I'm only disclosing that because he has very severe fans online, and we need to make sure they are fully portrayed.
Okay. All right.
Why there's still believers out there. So if we're following, there's the potential of the 9/11 prediction. There's the prediction of CERN. There's the prediction of
IBM computer
that we stated. Okay. The other one was in 2001. He also when he came back and he was talking to Pamela Moore, he made the statement of, well, how will you guys feel when you find out that Iraq's had nuclear weapons and they've essentially they'll create the war that you're consumed with? And then obviously, as you might know,
I was there.
Just his neck is telling a different story.
His neck is telling a different story. His neck is telling a different story.
All of a sudden, I believe this dude. He's traveling back in time. He's a douchebag for sure. Where does he keep this fucking thing? Why doesn't he show people? You know what I mean?
No, a true story. He kept it in a 67 Corvette. That was originally, it was in the back of the 67 Corvette. He was trying to repair it. It moved to a different vehicle, equally it wasn't as cool as a 67 Corvette. It was something incredibly lame, but he moved it to a second vehicle as he was trying to repair it, and he's trying to figure out essentially the heat sensitivity.
So I had the assumption that in a time travel device, it would be a time travel vehicle. And so I'm thinking of, what is that movie with Guy Pearce and
The Time Machine?
The Time Machine. I thought it would be a physical time machine where he's zoop, 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 and then go somewhere.
It's a physical, he says it weighs about 500 pounds. He said it's built by GE.
Of course.
Which actually, you know what? That makes me believe it.
Now it makes us believe it, okay? So it's built by this particular device. It's 500 pounds. He's been trying to repair it. He was getting so many questions, he actually drew designs over this particular item. So if you look up this item, there are patents on it, okay?
I want to know what happened. So he takes this H.G. Wells 500-pound machine. It's in the back of his Corvette. I don't know if you guys ever.
It was in the back of a 67 Corvette at the time.
Have you guys ever driven a Corvette? They didn't sell the Corvette based on its fucking trunk space.
Yeah, and they didn't really sell it based on its carrying capacity or like tow capacity. Like,
it's my understanding that wasn't necessarily the vehicle he traveled in. That is the vehicle. Once he got here and the device was broken, he put it into the back of.
So that just makes it seem like, okay, so obviously this thing's 500 pounds and it's clearly not. It's not the size of a house, but it's not the size of a bread box. So it's somewhere that would fit into a car, but it's still 500 pounds. Like that's. I don't know. I assumed it was some giant, like actual machine, like a car-sized machine that you could physically travel in, but instead
it's a device that once it turns on and it gets going, it just kind of, I'm assuming, because he doesn't necessarily describe the process, it just kind of consumes the immediate, the proximal surrounding, and then.
Right.
Well, that'd be the idea of the singularity. Like a black hole is so dense, it's sucking in everything. It doesn't have to be big; it can be very heavy.
Yeah. So I get, and I'm sure we'll get here in the conversation, but if that's the argument, then he goes to 2564 or whatever the kind of the end date is for all this web.
Well,
web world.
He stated specifically he had never been. Other time travelers, because time traveling technology was disclosed to the public in 2034. He was sent back in 2036. So he states all of the time traveling missions that had happened before him, they had gone basically as anyone would. You're just going to shoot as far out into the future as you can. When they get to 2564, you just hit black. It's just silence.
It just
so
stops.
effectively saying whatever timeline they're on does not exist at that point.
So they're jumping worlds. They're scooting around the web, and nothing exists past that point. Okay, I thought he had been there, and it was like, okay, if he doesn't have some sort of vessel, and either time doesn't exist or it is just empty space, then he would die. But okay, that's probably a little too granular. Wow. Okay, incredible. So he's got it in a fucking vet.
So he's got it in the back of this 67 vet. And obviously there's a few diagrams you can find online about this particular time travel device. So obviously it is without saying that people try to unsolve this mystery. 2008, there are investigators that are hired for this particular item. One is a Italian company who is doing a documentary on John Titor. He started a huge amount of John Titor himself created essentially just this web of people who sincerely want to believe. And I will be perfectly honest, I am someone of such sincere spirit right now. It's fun to believe this, but our skepticism obviously knows there are just way too many holes in this thing. So, and if you're a huge John Titor follower, please don't send the hate mail. We're good people. Please
send love emails. Send
love emails.
Send a nice argument. Time. Yeah.
Or how about go to the future and prove me wrong, you bitch.
Yeah, that's the other one. Go to the future, prove me wrong. That's Justin and I will be waiting when you get back. Okay.
With baseball bats. With baseball. You failed me.
Yeah. So, anyways, the investigations. A couple were. It was difficult to kind of sort out what was going on. They narrowed it to a individual. So one was, there's a couple of items that go with this. There was an individual by the name of Joseph Matheny who was creating essentially kind of an online game. He came forward and said, yeah, it was with some of my other creators. We were doing this thing for a reality game, alternate reality game called Ong's Hat. They thought it would be kind of a cool thing, and they just kind of kept up with it and went going with it. None of the other people that were in there ever came forward, so it's just him who's come out and spoken about that. The other one is by the investigator found a man by the name of Larry Haber. Larry Haber, there was a institution by the name of the John Titor Institute.
You got a fucking institute?
Institute. John Titor Institute that was linked to a P.O. box in Florida, a small town in Florida.
Gotta be Florida. Every time Florida.
It's gotta be Florida. There's something I do want to talk about. John Titor himself said during the American Civil War, in his timeline, okay? So if you're a John Titor fan, we're giving all the credit. All the credit. All the credit. In his timeline, he specifically stated, as a child, in 2011, he was enlisted in a militia from Jacksonville, Florida, and they were particularly fighting the Civil War. In this particular Civil War, the U.S. split into 5 factions. Washington was destroyed. Jacksonville was also hit. The new capital was in Omaha, Nebraska.
Boo!
Yeah, which is
somewhere no one gives a shit about.
We all know. Okay, if you're listening, Omaha is wonderful. You're a wonderful place. Please.
I broke down in Omaha driving from San Diego to Detroit.
And he means emotionally, not.
He broke down emotionally.
Omaha,
honestly, I want you to get your shit.
So
together.
Gorgeous when I pulled into Omaha that it just broke down and my tires went flat from shitty fucking roads.
Yeah, Omaha, you need to get your shit together because you're the site of the Civil War.
That's right. Tighten up. Have some pride.
Anyways, so he states that particular item. He says both Washington and Jacksonville, Florida, are hit during World War III. And we all know the thing is Jacksonville, Florida. I know you so guys, important. If you've been, so yeah, it's enormously important. It's a megalopolis.
Yeah,
as many people.
It's the center of culture in America. Everybody really knows that.
It really is. When people visit our country, I say, welcome you, whatever. I speak their language. Go to Jacksonville. Go to Jacksonville. Go to Jacksonville.
I speak their language, which is American for talking louder.
Yeah. So. Go to Jacksonville. That's what I
the
said.
opposite of a micropenis. It's a
Yeah. So anyways, those were specific items he had mentioned. Anyways, this particular institute is tied to a P.O. box in Florida. That P.O. box is obviously explored by this private investigator. He goes back. He sees Larry Haber. Larry Haber does an interview with. After this investigation happens and the investigator comes back, they do a full report basically saying this is a giant hoax. They think it's Larry Haber and his brother. Larry Haber is an attorney. His brother is a computer scientist, something or other. And then there is a third party, John Haber. John Haber is not even a brother. And then there's the son. Larry Haber does an interview with Hustler magazine, which, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. No, come on. Stop. Hustler, I just want our listeners to know, in case you're not aware, Hustler is a very respectable news source.
internationally published.
Source. Internationally published, okay? A lot of the pages may stick together. Yeah. That might not be your fault. Mostly
Subscribe,
not.
they'll send it fresh one to your house.
I don't know. I get pretty hard on a good news story.
When I see good investigative journalism, it's hand to meat every time.
No hand to meat all the time. Wow, look at the adjectives. Oh my gosh.
What are they citing sources? Ooh,
fucking letters on paper.
Oh. So,
I'm having one.
A lot of paper cuts.
A lot of paper cuts. Yeah.
There's this interview with Hustler. You can actually watch the entirety of this interview on YouTube. YouTube is, for our listeners, it's on the internet.
On the World Wide Web, yep.
On the Wild Wild Web.
On the World Wide Web. There's a full investigation. John Titor enthusiasts are so vehement and so completely vicious that they are out and they are pursuing Larry Hader. They're pursuing his son. They are posting online basically what's going on. In this interview with Hustler, Larry is like, I had nothing to fucking do with this. This is lunacy. They are following my son. They are effectively, they're watching my son's every move, meaning like people are sincerely posting about where his son has gone. He went like, out of town for like a debate thing in high school and something else. And they harassed Larry Haber's, his old office space. They went there and the people, obviously Larry is an attorney. So it's like everyone else is probably an attorney in the building because generally they rent out the same kind of office space. They're like, wow, man, you really fucked us.
So they just went like full, what's that group? Anonymous. They just went full anonymous on this guy's like life and child. Yeah. And we're just like, we'll follow you. We're going to put all your shit online and blow your shit up. And he's like, I'm a guy. I'm a person in the world. And Larry
states that he was hired to do a specific task. And that was, he was hired, no question, to go and open this P.O. box, have it particularly titled this particular item, the John Titor Institute. And that was that. He handles some accounts. He handles some affairs. That's it.
Yeah.
Purely transactional.
Wow. Interesting.
I mean, clearly the skepticism is real there.
Yeah. Who's the client?
If you're a John Titor fan, yeah. He didn't necessarily know because there was no necessarily hard line to link it back.
Hey man, he got paid. You know what I mean?
He got paid. Yeah. Doesn't matter who it is.
I don't ask who signs the check. You know what I mean? I just suck the dick.
Hand to me all the time. Give me that money.
So I don't ask who writes the check. I just suck the dick.
Give him the money.
Honestly, that's all KY Jelly. Yeah, he would definitely.
I suck on the penises.
That's a lot of penis. Suck so much penis. So that's the story. What do we have, gentlemen? What do we have?
So I have so many clarifying questions, but none of them truly probably can be answered with any sort of certainty, and that's the nature of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
It does. So I have one factual question that I don't know if it's important or not. Did John Titor exist? Is he a person from history? Was he ever like a real person that somebody could have assumed his identity in the future kind of thing? Or is there a connection?
They found no absolute connection to this individual whatsoever. And I believe they even did an investigation at IBM and they were unable to find anyone with the last name. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean much because it could have been a maternal side,
Right.
but that's the case. They found no one with that particular name. The only time it showed up is when you had this investigator do this item and you found the John Titor Institute in Florida linked to the P.O. box.
But that was really the only piece that puts John Titor in any sort of mildly suspicious circumstance, is that his name is on a P.O. box opened by a lawyer, which is...
Well, and he obviously predicted things that were completely factually bullshit too. Yeah, but that was the only thing that because 98, you weren't necessarily able to... So the other item with, so I should stop there. The
Don't stop.
I won't stop. Keep going.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Yep.
Hand of meat.
So the Florida item was the IP address where they linked the post back to were from the same city that where the Institute P.O. box was set up. So that's where you run into a lot of people who say, well, clearly it was the Larry Haber individual who started this whole thing, and it was his siblings. But the other IP addresses where the other posts were done from, they weren't able to find out.
I did look up pictures. So I don't know why I always do this, but I looked up pictures of John Titor while you were doing some of your presentation, Ryan, and there are some interesting pictures on the internet.
And well, that's it. Well, and I found this story on the internet, so we know it's all true.
Right.
Justin, elaborate what you've seen, if you can.
Yeah. So, and I don't know of any type of software that could possibly fake the pictures that I'm looking at. Some type of photo changer, perhaps a photo shop or something.
So they call it MS Paint, something like that.
Yeah, MS Paint might be able to, might have the technology to do this.
Microsoft Paint 10, baby, love it.
Yeah. So actually, the picture's a little bit eerie in like how well it is. Like I don't know if it's. Okay. So let me back. I'll get the. So they show the picture of John Titor, and he looks a little bit more handsome than I thought he would be.
He looks like Justin.
I just think fucking crazy guy. So they show this picture of John Titor, and then they show a picture right next to him standing with a group of old people with like some sunglasses on and some dress, some wear that does not fit into the time that he's standing in. And there's a couple of these pictures of him floating around.
Oh, so okay, that one was actually discredited.
Oh, damn.
That looks like Mads Mikkelsen.
There was that one. There was another one where he's in that same crowd, and that was discredited. And I didn't quite understand why those pictures were so closely associated with it. But I do know when I tried to go as deep as possible on this, and there was a lot of people just immediately discrediting those photos as, oh, that's not John Titor.
Well, there's another one, same guy standing in like the red square. I can see like Joseph Lennon and Churchill behind him.
Definitely real. Definitely real.
It's definitely real. Why would that?
Super real.
Yeah, that's definitely real.
Yeah.
That's totally real. Yeah.
So John Titor's hanging out with these images of Joseph Lennon and is it Joseph Lennon? Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah. No. No. Joseph Stalin.
Joseph Stalin.
And then
Vlad Lenin.
Vlad Lenin. Yeah.
I thought it was T.J. Lennon or Tanner. What's his?
T.J. Maxx.
Yeah, his super white name.
Tanner Lennon. Yeah.
So I was mixing two different.
Honestly, it sounds like KY. It sounds like you're dumb. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Honestly,
No.
My mom's been telling me that for years, dude. I know it's fucking true, dude. I know it.
That's true. Our listeners need to know right now. KY is hyper intelligent. He is a super intelligent guy, brilliant man, also incredibly handsome.
He is all those things, but he's also a heightist, and I am.
He is a heightist. He is a heightist. He's very, very prejudiced. Yeah.
One of the few men who proved the hand to cock ratio.
That's right. When I see a shorter man than me in public, I throw rocks at him in the street. There's no question about that.
It's all
No, KY's been throwing rocks at me since we were children. KY actually shot me with a fucking arrow one time.
Oh my god! Every
Yes.
time.
Do we need to talk about this again? Yeah, I
Did it
think we
puncture
do.
skin?
It hurt. No, it didn't puncture the fucking practice
Okay,
arrow.
you little
But
bitch.
still, it could have killed me.
I didn't shoot you like in the face. I just was like, I wonder if it'll get him. And there
You
you
didn't
go.
know where the fuck it was
got
going.
him.
You lobbed it at me, you piece of shit.
98.
98, yeah, when all this
Oh,
started.
that was the first time John Titor arrived. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if the issues he was having was because we shot an arrow into a clear blue sky and it twanged off of his 67 Corvette, chitty chitty banging its way across the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Bed knobs and broomsticks, just
Bed knobs, yes.
Hey, why? I guess if this is a giant fucking joke to you, bro.
Yeah, dude, if I could travel back in time, I would tell us not to play that fucking game. And for those of you listening, the game of Squanto was a stupid name, but it was a stupid fucking game where KY Jelly and I would take an arrow and just shoot it straight up into the sky and then run like mad assholes trying not to get killed by this fucking thing. We have no idea where it went.
no idea where it went. And we purposefully, and I want to emphasize this, we purposefully didn't play on windy days because we knew that the arrow would just get blown away. We wanted the danger of possible death in order to play the game.
down.
Face the blade.
Immediately back down. Yeah.
How close did it ever come to either of you?
There was a couple fun times where it was pretty close.
I do remember doing the same thing as a child where you'd shoot the arrow into the air and just see if you can avoid it when it comes back down because it is coming down fast.
There was a time where we then got cardboard shields, or basically cardboard boxes folded down, where we knew it probably wouldn't get all the way through, and then we try to then get under the arrow with the cardboard. I don't know, Justin, you remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. So that was, honestly, anything to relieve yourself of this life was preferable at the time.
Right. So, like, according to the Wheeler theory, there are probably several timelines where KY and I have murdered each other shooting arrows.
There's no question. Look, I think about this all the time when I realized what Everett Wheeler theory was. KY, there were 100 instances where we died on the road after that Halloween coming back.
Yep.
It's all extra. We died that night. It's all extra.
We definitely died that, and we're living in a timeline where apparently we lived
somehow.
Yeah,
it had to be one of them.
Yeah, that's I completely agree. We're in infinite timelines here. Yeah, Everett Wheeler is a special case.
And I don't know, with some of this, and I'm going to speak so far out of my ass and make such a dumb asshole myself by saying this, but like some of these scientific theories are a little too convenient. I think in the very extremely general sense to say like there are infinite universes, so every decision you make that happens somewhere else. Okay, like that's fine. Yeah, I guess there's no consequence to me as a person in the real world living now. Yeah. But if you're like, well, when you time travel, you're going back to these individual worlds and you got to try to pick up where you left off and it goes in a certain order. And it's like, that's all fucking great for you to say, but there's no way for me to verify it. There's literally no way for me to verify it in the future.
In our conspiracy, in this individual case, which is clearly true. If you're a John Titor fan, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
Caveat.
It is extremely convenient because it essentially alludes that there is no wrong. Whatever you state, there is no wrong. It backs John Edwards, the guy who did the crossing over. He would have fucking loved that.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually your ghost from a different timeline. I'm sorry. Because your ghost from a different timeline.
You know what? I get some cross signals.
Gone from a different timeline. I'm sorry. It explains literally everything. So it is convenient in that sense. And it's dizzying to think about because then it makes the reality enormously more ominous because there is just such a web of possibilities with every decision that's ever made.
Yeah, I don't like that. Fuck that. I want one timeline.
Yeah, and to their term, world line.
Actually, have you ever seen the show Community?
Yeah. Darkest Timeline.
The Darkest Timeline. That's exactly right. The episode that begat that pulls heavily on all this theory. Like, it had technically in that particular instance, it had 8 possible instances, but every possible choice splits off in a whole different timeline, because then every one of those decisions splits off.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the idea is it is there. It is one. And if you look up Everett Wheeler theory, there are a lot of people who are poking holes and discredit it, like any of these theories. But it is interesting to think about, because it is a possibility that has yet to be unproven. So
if you go back in time, kiss your mom.
It's a
So
go
you
back in time and kiss your mom. Is that what you said?
Yep. And you play Johnny Be Good on stage in front of your school.
That's right. That's right.
Is that like a Chuck Palahniuk reference?
That's a Back to the Future reference.
Back to the Future reference.
Oh, is that what it is?
He's an alien.
Burn the witch.
Calm down, guys. I read a book one time and it made me confused. Okay, I'm sorry.
Guy, Jay Money is the time traveler.
This is what he gets for reading a book. I swear to
He's been on
God.
this podcast the whole time.
No, so in a book called Rant by Chuck Palahniuk, the guy that wrote Fight Club,
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
of those.
Really
This
good
guy-
writer. Yeah.
he would go back in time and fuck his mom, and he would get stronger from it somehow.
What?
What?
Yeah. Chuck Palahniuk was he has some fucked up stories.
Yeah, he did. I didn't read that one though. Jesus.
Oh yeah, go read the book Haunted. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
No, I won't. I won't do it. I don't read. I choose not to read. I can. I'm literate, but I choose not to.
And just for our listeners, that's why KY is an idiot. Do you know what I mean? That makes him dumb.
I need to check my privilege for my literacy and just appreciate it,
Yeah.
By not reading.
By not reading. That's my choice. I choose my choice, and my choice is that.
Right.
So.
That's
You're
right.
so privileged in other ways that you have to bring yourself down to be like normal folk. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, he actually paid
That is the
someone to
most
read.
privileged thing I've ever heard.
Honestly, now that we're talking, clearly KY is the privileged one who knows John Titor, and he knows what the future is. And quite frankly, he is not only a heightist, he's a futurist too. So
I have been to the future. I've been to the future, and we killed everybody under 6
well,
feet.
I didn't say you went to the future. I just said you liked a lot of people who have been to the future. So.
If you haven't been to the future, then fuck you. All right. I
Now
don't need to
that's-
take your shit.
That is a line of the sand if I've ever heard it.
I only hang out with futurists. God, get out.
Tall futurists. Tall futurists.
So, anyways, that was the story of John Titor. What do we have to say? I mean, there's clearly quite a bit that goes on with John Titor in that story. His story, by the way, to this day, he has just absolutely vehement fans online who believe his story to an absolute T, despite the Larry Haber being discovered, that sort of thing. Despite all that, still has people who absolutely want to believe in this particular story.
So has John Titor gone dark since? Is it 2004?
He has gone dark. Yeah, he has not had any correspondence since 2001.
So
Because he saved the world and then went back to the future to his original timeline.
Yeah, so if you're looking at it, in '98, decides he'll make a fax to the Art Bell show.
which is decidedly incredibly convenient, because it would be the only place he could come forward to.
That's
to
okay.
even
So a lot of people were
believed.
a lot of people online were discrediting him, like it's a bunch of weirdos on there who just talk about shit. It's like, no, man, if they already fucking believe it, obviously that's where I'd go to disclose, hey, I actually am from the future. All of you are fucking weirdos, but I need you to believe me. And I would actually go to a show where people sincerely believe in this thought process, right?
Honestly, you go to Stern. You can't go to Art Bell coast to coast. He'll give you just some weird shit. So I have listened to Coast a couple of times, and I find it like so oddly insufferable. It bothers me so much, because Art Bell will do a little bit of now tell me this. Now tell me this. The inside of your time machine, is it orange or more of a maroon color, do you think?
Yeah.
And just
And
goes down the fucking rabbit hole, and it's like, come on, man.
It's a ton of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but so Art Bell died recently.
He died. Yeah, he died actually. I think it was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, and then so who's the guy doing it now?
I'm not actually sure, but I do know he's done a series of interviews. He did one relating to our subject. He did. There was kind of a John Titor historian, essentially, who he's done many conversations with and many different interviews with over the years, where essentially this guy was kind of talking about the philosophy and the prophecies of John Titor.
And now he's held up as a totem of some kind,
so John Titor himself even specifically said in one post, I don't want to be looked at as a prophet because I'm a normal person and I'm just trying to tell you what has happened in my timeline. Therefore, if something doesn't happen and you don't believe me, you'll just think I'm a total quack. I don't like either of these avenues. I am just trying to tell you what has happened in my timeline and as forewarning. That's all it is.
So I was thinking that there is, and I don't actually want to malign anyone who's a Christian or anything like that. That's not the point. But there is, when you talk about time travel and you talk about predictions, there is always a biblical or something sense to it. And not that everything in the Bible is a prediction and all that, as much as it gets in that territory of, if someone can predict the future, we will hold them as an idol, always.
Yeah. Well, always.
Human nature, it's all that other stuff. So the tendency is to then, of course, elevate them and elevate everything they're saying, even though the same thing is true with most religious texts, that there are backdoors, there are built-in, I don't want to say escapes or anything like that, but there are exceptions built in immediately that, like, oh, God's infallible, so he can give a kid eye cancer and also like cure some other kid's cancer magically. So if both things are possible, then no matter what happens, covered. Well, so it's the same thing with time travel, that like, if you build in your story that like, oh, well, if this doesn't come true, then it's fine because I actually already said that it might not come true if I fix it.
Yeah.
And there's no way to know.
And his out is obviously the unpredictability and infinicy of just the fact that there are infinite timelines based on the Everett Wheeler theory that he's using, in which you essentially, when you time travel, you are going through holes on various different world lines to get to where you're at. So when, for example, if he's going back to 1975, there was absolute that the 5100 was created in 1975, and he is using just a series of world lines to travel back to get there. He has no idea if they're in peril with his particular world line or not, but he is using that narrow path in which the 5100 did exist. Because there could be something that's, 1,000 times out to the other side in which the 5100 never existed, and they have a totally different reality.
Right. So that it invites specificity for our what we consider historical knowledge. So like, we know in our timeline, if you accept that as reality, we know in our timeline 75, 5100, that was invented. Boom. And so he takes that and just says like, well, I'm going to go back to 75 and get the 5100. And you're like, well, that's again, it's convenient because we know that and you know that, so we accept that as a shared fact. But when you apply that to future and unknown things, yes, they can be confirmed or quasi-confirmed, but
I'm glad you brought that up, because it dabbles. This whole theory goes down a different hole, essentially, that gets a little bit harder and more abstract to kind of follow, and that is an item known as the Mandela effect. Which
love this thing.
Okay, so that is the idea that there is a collective belief on a particular idea, that they saw something or knew something, but that is actually factually different. Meaning, for this particular instance, there might have been a group of people who believed one thing as past theory, but it is actually different in reality. And the item they always use is the spelling of Bernstein Bears, the children's novel. We spell it as what we believe as a traditional Bernstein, Bernstein, and it's actually spelled Bernstain. But we have a collective belief that it's spelled the former over the latter there. Or the title Mandela effect is built into a theory that was created by one individual who theorized that she herself believed Nelson Mandela actually died in the 80s, and then that there was a common belief that a lot of people maybe believed he died in the 80s. He was in the prison. He was in South African prison in the 80s. Died in the 2000s. So, it's a common misconception. If you read the Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, where there's the idea that they all see something in Vietnam, where it's like an actual trap or something that goes off. Same kind of idea. It's a collective idea about something that's maybe not reality.
So this is like when we all thought John Madden was dead, but he's actually not.
Yeah, and a shout out to that previous podcast. Yeah,
absolutely.
So here's another example that I learned about the other day. Think about a Monopoly board. Is there a Virginia Avenue?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they specifically used the I'll let Justin explain this.
Well, guess what? There is not a Virginia Avenue. There is a Ventor Avenue or a Ventor Avenue.
Yeah. Yeah. But in our collective
I see KY's face right now thinking about it. Like, but damn it.
Our collective belief, our collective conscious as a society, we actually have that particular memory. We have a shared memory. If we went and asked 10 people on the street, it's kind of like when you see like Jimmy Kimmel go out on late night and ask a bunch of people in the streets about a particular moment in history, and they all have the same collective idea, even though what they're feeding them is false. It's the same idea.
Right.
So there is one path here where a lot of John Titor apologist believers think that he kind of perpetuates this idea of the Mandela effect, where we all have an idea of deja vu and an idea of what we thought as a kid, but has now changed. And I know that's extremely, extremely believable for you, KY, because you believe a lot of stuff.
I take a lot of things at face value. I absolutely do.
Yeah. The thing is, KY is just so fucking gullible. God.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
The problem is how dumb my brain is.
Yeah.
There's a chunk of this on the side. Hold on. Let's not just jump on KY's dick here. There's like the gray area of like slightly misinterpreted memories. Like it's more like a vague recollection of a thing, and then when you go asking after or looking for it, the first couple times you see the same answer, you're going to start hailing that as the gospel truth.
Yeah.
Like it's very possible a lot of us, like in this effect, like the Berenstein Bears example, like it's even spelled differently than what we remember. It's actually Berenstein. So it's like Berenstein. But it's like,
thank you for telling me to shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Just Ryan, do your job, dude. Just show up and do your job.
Just does Edward Furlong come into play at any point? That's all I need to know.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, that's a reference to Terminator 2. Good job, bro. Good job.
Never fucking saw it.
No.
Did you really?
Are you a real person? Okay.
I will say, you guys know me. You know me so well. I'm dumb as it gets. I love a good, stupid movie. Didn't get Terminator. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. It seems stupid to me. I saw the first one. I saw the one with what's his nuts.
Oh wow, what's his name?
Oh my god,
yeah,
I can't remember his name.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, this will be the last episode. It was
it's a great run. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
Oh my god.
Ryan looks so exasperated with Kyle right now.
How?
I never saw the X-Files, and I saw barely any Terminator.
Oh yeah, that's right. He never saw the X-Files. Oh God, Jesus.
I haven't seen a single episode.
The X-Files.
Honestly, I'm going to say this right now. You hate America. That's what I've noticed.
True. I don't know what he did with his Sunday nights growing up. I ask you, you know.
I gotta say, KY, you hang out with it. Like, we're kind of a nerdy bunch, and you haven't seen the fucking X-Files.
And I like that stuff. I like aliens and all that shit. And I was just like, it seems cheesy. Seems hokey.
It is hokey. It
is hokey. That's the whole point. It's a fucking TV show, bro.
In a wonderful way, the '90s nurtured and
I do need to fit this last item in, and it's not necessarily important, but John Titor did try to explain, because someone asked him, "Well, have you guys figured out UFOs?" And his response was, "No, we haven't, but most likely it's people from other world lines."
Boom.
So he just blows that up, walks out of the room, drops the mic.
Mic drop. Oh, it's most likely people from other world lines. Eat it. drops the mic.
I don't actually have to answer that question because I built in my own response years ago. Boom.
Yeah, just I don't know. It's just in every answer just fits the narrative.
Dude, I did. But it's brilliant. It's fucking
It's
brilliant.
true, KY. That's why it fits the narrative.
Okay, whoa. But for real life though, wasn't there a thing? The government
Yeah, they just
announced
released
that
a couple
UFOs
weeks
are
ago.
real?
Yeah, UFOs. They flat out did not know it was a true UFO.
They acknowledged that there were unidentified flying objects out there, but they didn't. The government wasn't just like, yeah, there's aliens up there, man.
Yeah,
they said, yeah, we saw some shit. We don't know what it was.
So they showed the however many minutes you can show on Twitter via clip, and that's what they had of the actual aircraft itself.
Just some government guys like, my Vine app isn't working. Is there like another platform that we can use to share these?
I'm wondering if we can put this on Twitter though.
And you know what? You know what I learned about that? So actually I listen to Coast to Coast like regularly, and it's not because I don't believe this shit's on there. Sorry, Coast to Coasters. I just don't.
We've had this conversation. You and I were talking about Coast to Coast just when you came out on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And I love it because I love when people call in. I want to hear the person that calls in, the crazy analytical leaps that they make when they call. So one guy called in. He said, I host a radio show until the radio station was bought out by some other company and they fired me. And that proves that the U.S. government is controlled by lizard people. And
boom.
Direct
connection.
That's all the evidence I need.
Yeah. And so George Norrie, who's now the host in place of Art Bell.
George Norrie, yes.
Yeah. So George Norrie was just like, I could see maybe there's a connection there. Can you maybe explain a little bit? And the guy was like ranting and raving so much that George Norrie had to like cut him off. Like, okay, we're gonna go to our next caller.
Justin, just for your own notification, so you don't make yourself look silly, they're called the reptilians. So if you want to maybe educate yourself a little bit.
Suddenly, the guy who hasn't seen the X-Files fucking knows. Wow.
Hey, just because I don't consume the hokiest version of the occult and the alien,
if you're listening, he
doesn't mean I don't know about it.
Quack. KY's a quack. Okay.
There's hokier than X-Files. Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely hokier than X-Files.
Yeah, I have seen the Sci-Fi Channel and also been not impressed. So
I have seen the Sci-Fi Channel.
So I was actually gonna do a lesser known people presentation on like David Icke, the guy.
David Icke. He's dude. I'll tell you this. He's probably too popular.
Okay, yeah, I thought so when I looked him up.
But
Justin Titor has a following, so we can do people who are popular. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it's one of those things where it's like, what else can you say besides unverifiable and fucking insane?
You're right.
I mean, really, and not like it's so crazy, it's so stupid, as much as like if even a fucking nut hair of this is true. Fucking nuts, like fucking insane, Even if this guy was like kind of tertiary, like very passe, was like, oh, when the World Trade Centers were there, but then I came back and they weren't there, and it's like, hang on a second, friend, you want to throw up a flag, say something's going on here? It'd be good to know.
No, man, I believe John Titor. Like I'm on his side.
You're on board with it? Okay, you know what? It is so fun to believe. It is so.
It
fun.
is. Yeah, I love it.
As I kept reading, it was I did the childhood thing where it's just like I want to suspend my belief and follow this.
Yeah,
I do think it's like I want to see it. I'm one of those people of like, if it full fucking Guy Pearce time machine just boop and was gone, I'd be like, fucking shit. That'd be the coolest thing I ever saw in my life. It'd be so great. I'd tell everybody.
It would. The thing is that the items he discloses that are that were actual predictions. It's like, wow, that is just too fucking eerie.
Yeah.
The idea that they disclosed and Connor will absolutely tear this the fuck apart when he listens to it. But the 5100 having basically coding inside of it that was undisclosed until 2004, and he discloses that years before. The Iraq item of conflict there, the context about the skyscraper in New York, a couple of the other items we were talking about. It's like, damn, man. These are the Stephen Hawking one about black holes, where he does someone who would be an authority on black holes who eventually comes out and goes, I was fucking wrong. You're right.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to amend this really quick.
Yeah. Basically saying my original theory was probably off on how black holes are utilized, or it could potentially what their being is.
Well, I mean, I can give some dick chatter on that. I know that Connor definitely read way further than I did, but we read some of those same books. But like the black hole is a one-way trip, right? Like it's all gravity pulling one way. So if you hit that gravity and it pulls you in, you're fucked off. Like the time bends, the kind of amount of time that you're spending versus how much time actually goes by. Your ability to come back. I think even Interstellar kind of tapped into that a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen Interstellar, bro. I know how it all works. Okay.
I was gonna say, like, I'm pretty sure when he fell into that black hole, he found this really cool structure, and he could talk to his kid by pushing books off the shelf. Okay,
you are right. Well, that's the idea, guys. So the idea was essentially John Titor described. I just wish you would fucking listen to John Titor.
Hey, okay, look, black holes are a one-way trip.
J Master, if you want to give something summative here.
Back in the day, 1998, John Titor reaches out to the great and past Art Bell, the host of Coast to Coast. He sends a little facsimile over to him about how he's been traveling through time, and none of it makes sense. It's probably all bullshit. So then later on, he finds his way onto like an internet forum where he is corroborating a bunch of information that he brings up that could be correct, could be wrong. It doesn't matter because he built in these backdoors to his original story, so he can just say whatever the fuck he wants, and he's always going to be correct, which is brilliant. And I think we brought up was it John Edwards? What's his name? The guy that can
crossing over. John Edwards.
Yeah, the crossing over guy. He would love this motherfucking dude. They could team up. They could make $1 million monies telling widows that their fucking husbands are okay in the afterlife. I think that's it as far as the story goes. We brought up a bunch of theories and whatnot. We said CERN a lot. We also said internet a lot. So I think that pretty much makes all the points.
Wild, wild web.
Yeah.
And as we know, Ryan is very good at the internet.
I'm so good at the internet. I don't even want to tell you how good I am at the internet. I got a notification for Google Circles the other day. So
you're kind of a big deal.
Google Circle jerk.
I'm kind of a big deal. I own numerous Gmail accounts.
He makes his own circle. He makes his own circle. He's an anomaly.